Yo. The voice is so bad. Hey, the project. We keep the project running. So busted up here though. Horrible. Say if there's a will, there's a way, right? Where's my phone? Take a photograph of this. How hideous this photo is. It's got my nail in it. Try and get this clip off. That use of keep sticking to plastic. I'll paste it back right here. Bear with me. I can't see very much, huh? There's a lot of point having the... Oh, that's not good. Don't want that. it stays this time. So let's see, what we're trying to do right now is reconfigure the room. And there's several things I'm going to do. I'm going to set up the table over there, which I'm mostly finished, so that I can start using the laptop again for live streaming. Especially that mic up there. That's the most important thing, really. It's all about the mic that I've got to test. It's a HyperX Quadcast. Now, we want to clean the room. We also have to do quite a bit of stuff down here. If I can swivel the head down. Here's a lot of stuff on the chair that we gotta get rid of. So this area here, it's a region next to the bed. And it's so interesting because I feel like I just hit some 2,000 year epiphany that, you know, something only your Epictetus or someone of the likes of those Roman Greek civilizations. All I had to do was move the bed, long story short, over here. And the reason why I would want to do that is because it's my best interest for to reduce any friction between my work, whether it's a project or the business commission, or I don't know, work like going for job applications or doing coding and programming, working on digital assets that we want to place maybe on the live stream, whatever it is we're working on. There's a lot of friction between me being able to work on project, business, live streaming, fitness, even technology, coding, programming, machine learning, certifications, all that crap. Because the laptop previously was not next to the bed, which right now it is, but as you can see, it's on this chair, and that's such a pain in the ass because this chair is in the way of me doing my fitness routine, my fitness regimen, which I had a really good time, and I'm trying to be positive here, just switch it up a little bit. I felt really good just a couple months ago in terms of my body shape, and now I feel really bad because I am just completely reverted to a very sedentary lifestyle and have not done any stretching or cardio work or endurance or anything like that. Now, there's the good news to that is that, of course, I spent a lot of that time that I haven't been using on fitness, doing some minor research, of course, slowly learning more and more about how to properly do certain types of exercises and fitness regimen, especially particularly calisthenics and weightlifting, and Athlean-X had a lot to do with the improvement of my knowledge and understanding, as well as Jeff Nippert and other people as well on their channels. So right now the main theme is trying to move this chair and all that crap on it right now, all this stuff. It's actually a lot of good stuff here, right? It's like there's a book here on St. John's Ambulance, and there's a book on marketing, particularly network marketing. There's a book on something much more abstract, complex theory and chaos theory. Super interesting stuff, but it should not be on this chair. The laptop should not be on this chair. The stand here should not be on a chair. I should be able to save this chair for the guest, as well as for, which is fine here for the clothing, but I gotta move this away from being beside the bed. Now, before I had divvied up the room into different regions like A through G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and each region was broken down into sections. So region, say A section 1 through 13. Some have 6 sections, others have like 13 sections, but it'd be like the closet is like region A or something like that. And then the table is like region G, so we just go all the way around, I believe, something like that. And the bed here was another region, kind of like the shelving unit there, the clothing at the very back, like with equipment and gear. Overall, there was a lot of logistical work, and we've sort of come to terms with, of course, the world has expanded a lot over the past, I would say, 8 months or so. Over the past 8 months, really incorporating this little world of minimalism that I tried to, well, it wasn't exactly minimalist, but it was quite minimalist compared to, just being part of society, getting a job and stuff like that. That has a greater role, let's say, in the urban environment that I'm in, because I didn't really engage much with the city, and I didn't really expand to really, really professional organizations. I had really limited my ability and my professional development and the people and connections that I knew to the very local sort of suburban region that I was in. I hadn't been in touch, let's say, with the higher class, more bourgeoisie, high-tech, higher education, really well-renowned institutions and organizations and just areas and even tourist attractions. I didn't really even know my own city. And because of that, I also did not engage with many other communities that were beyond my local community. Let's say I was very well known and I very well understood and knew the people and the community and organizations within my local area. But you could say that's like a little town. Compare that to the greater urban development, which my town is like, the town's analogy, the suburban local area is just like a tiny region compared to the really high tech. This is one of those cities that's like, you can think of like New York, like Washington, right? It's like one of those. You can think of like, this thing. Think of a capital of a country, right? So like Kiev in Ukraine, Hong Kong. Well, that's not capital, but you know what I mean. Taiwan, stuff like that, right? So it's like a big city. Sydney, Australia. Auckland, New Zealand. I've been there before. So it's really a real shock because there's millions of people here and there's many little out pockets. Like there's like a little Italy, little Portugal, Koreatown and stuff like that, J-Town, Chinatown, right? And there's like out pockets for Russian immigrants, Ukrainian immigrants, for Italian. We had Little Italy, right? So on and so forth. And I had not really explored much of it at all. So in terms of employment, professional development, business, community outreach, organizations to volunteer at, the level and the scope and the ceiling which I held myself to just expanded by so much. And I realized how limited I had been in my scope previously beforehand. So long story short, right, that this little room here that I was so focused on for like almost 5 years now, this project has been running on, maybe 6, it's like a microcosm. It's another analogy, right? If the town is, the town of the suburb, compared to the greater region, the complete city as a whole, is just a microcosm, right? If we refer to the suburbs as a town, to the city, to the greater region as a whole, to the capital, as a microcosm, and that being the macroscopic real world. And this is a tiny little pond, this room that I'm in, that I've been renting out, and it's spending so much time here breaking it down into, you know, these regions and sections, and none of it really mattered all that much, because at the end of the day, thinking about actually moving out and having all these different areas and actually making real changes, aspiring to meet far more healthy and well developed and well established people and connections. And I've had the gratitude to meet a lot of really amazing people over the past, I would say, 10 months. It was a lot of it was hardship, of course, but you know, it's expanded, it's opened my eyes a lot, by opening myself to the high tech, rich and wealthy and educated and whatnot of the city. And just, it's not even just rich and wealthy and educated and well established and professional. It's also just a greater quantity. I'm just talking about the number of experiences, the number of organizations, the distance through which I traveled. Like, that is literally another major. That is literally a most basic, but one of the greatest determinants of change, is just that I've just explored further and further away places. I literally went to an airport, which is at the opposite end of wherever I thought I'd ever be, on my own accord, in the past 10 months. And I actually did that. So it was like, I've mapped a lot more of the world, let's just say, right? And even still, the analogy applies. Of course, you can keep scaling up, and everything I've explored so far, right? It's just like traveling. It's like traveling and seeing the world and broadening your horizons and meeting new communities and getting new jobs and volunteering for organizations. But there's a different scale every step of the way, right? Volunteering at this level versus at that level versus at that level, right? From the local to the provincial to the federal to the national, and then to the international, the global scale, right? Right. It's just like when you're traveling abroad compared to traveling amongst your city, to compare to traveling amongst your neighborhood, and then to just say within your own house, right? So every bit is a scale, a step above, that really expands the horizons. And I realized how much time I had wasted on trying to sort out this room. Not that it wasn't useful in many ways, but it was as much as it was useful, it was also very limiting, right? It was very inefficient. It was, in a lot of ways, a waste of time, a waste of energy. It was a waste of attention. It was, or waste is a powerful word in the negative sense. I don't know if I want to say waste. I'm trying to be. No, it's all right. I didn't want to be too PC about it, because waste is true. It's negative. But it's at least telling it like it is. It was a waste of time. It's a waste of fucking time. But at the same time, I recognize that, you know, you can't really waste anything if you gain something. And I did gain a lot from learning to sort out the room, this little microcosm. But the world's much bigger than that, obviously. And even sorting out my position in the local community and the small hut family-owned businesses around and charitable organizations, that still was just a microcosm compared to the 13-15 million population city that I actually live in, as opposed to the probably just a few million in the little suburban area that I'm in. So the district, let's say, yeah, that's what it's like, a regional district of the entire greater city. So, you know, coming back down to it, it really doesn't matter. I think back to how I broke down the room into closet region A, B, C, D, all that crap, dividing it into sections, trying to map out a floor plan, deciding where the tech goes, where the equipment goes, and the paperwork and all that crap. It was fun in a sense. It was annoying in some ways, but most and foremost, it was if you want to, if I don't want to use the word waste, it was not the best way, right? It was not the best way to use my time. Clearly it was not. And even this video right now is not. So is live streamed. I'm glad that I'm recording this. I didn't think that I'd be speaking my mind on so many of these different aspects today, but that is what I'm doing. Hold on. Would you like that? Do you know when I eat it though? Alright, let me take one more slice of beef and I'll give it to you. Sure. Yeah, I'll leave it later then. as I was saying, wow, 20-minute live stream. Why does this overheat so soon? I'm not even charging. Anyways, the point is, I just had a little bit of magic beef, magic noodle, courtesy of my brother and father. Thank you very much to them. Okay, so anyways, yeah, it's pretty good, but I think it was spoiling a little bit the meat. It's not a big deal. Anyways, as I was saying, it's very nice to see the bigger city and really get to experience, because it's really a capital city I'm living in, right? And so it's got like over like 13, 14 million. Came back and ate some rice. I don't know. I would say this though. Magic noodle. The beef tastes a little funny, and I'm not sure if it's because the green onions or the oregano, but yeah, I don't know. There was only like 7 slices of beef, and then I've already eaten noodles before, so it's like it's not new. Yeah. Yeah, it's not like spoiled or anything. Yeah. Okay. Go with the. Oh, my hands are oily. Let me wash my hands. Okay. Okay, there's some oil. Okay. You know what? I'll take this opportunity to dust down everything with this towel. You can watch. It's not a big deal. You can watch the company. Right now. this right here. Look at this trash right here. Disgusting. Look at this. Right? Okay. What's supposed to be in there, man? It's supposed to be something there. I just don't know what it is. It's supposed to be there. I can't recall what it is. Something's supposed to be there. Yeah. There we go. It's nice. So there. Nice. So we got $10 back because we didn't actually eat the noodles. Gonna put this in my wallet. Let's see. Nice. Alright, so back at it again. Let's take a look at the time. That took 10 minutes. Listen, okay. So, what were we saying? We were saying that we expanded our mapping of the world a bit, right? To incorporate more people, more organizations, more places, more shopping malls, community centers, financial institutions, you name it, been there. Subway stations, new people. Learn more about other people, but also learn more about myself in return. Yeah, there were a lot of good experiences, hell of a lot of bad experiences, a lot of really, really ugly, nasty experiences as well, but also some really enlightening ones. Some really, it was nice and awful and good, and it was everything. It's very holistic, very comprehensive. 10 months, and you know, we're going to try to resituate, if that's even a word, resituate. We're going to find the placement of this room in this now bigger world that I have mapped out, right? Just reframing the context of the minutiae that we have in our lives into an even bigger world of understanding, right? As we leave our country, our hometown, our city, and our organization, and then join a new one, and then bigger ones, and bigger ones, and start to realize how small, right, some places that we used to have locked ourselves to, constrained ourselves to, really are. So this room now is just minutia, right? Like not that it wasn't a minutia before, but again, being very minimalist before certainly didn't help in me understanding the context of this room and the objects and the goals and methods and strategies applied on such a small scale. How insignificant and how unworthy the time, energy, and attention spent on certain activities were in this room that I could have been working on, that I was working on, were compared to things that I would now like to be working on in this room. And so as I stand in here talking to nobody, right, there are new things that I want to do inside this tiny little room, and I'm calling it tiny little room now, even though this tiny little room was kind of like my universe for a couple months or years. Hold on. What credit card? So minutia, right? Anyways, just something about a credit card coming in and not realizing that the expiry date came. But that's what it was. Cool. And then, right, got back a little $10. Didn't really want the noodles, didn't feel like worth, even though they actually make really, really good noodles. So if you guys ever tried Magic Noodle, pretty sure that's a chain that's gone across the world, and I'm pretty sure it's not just limited to like North America or whatever. Anyways, back on topic, right? So it's a bigger world now, and the goals, tasks, actions, objectives, or whatever, you know, the thoughts, the emotions, the strategies, the aspirations that we have, the methods, the expenditure of our time, attention, our resource management, particularly a time management and resource management, goals and priorities and task actions have really radically shifted after reorienting myself in the exploration of unknown territory, of uncharted territory. There was a series my brother used to watch, like these Minecraft things, so he'd tell me about my uncharted territory. Minecraft streamer and stuff. I wasn't big into it, but he really enjoyed it, and I have to agree. After watching a few of those episodes, it was quite entertaining. It was a lot of fun. But you know, uncharted territory, right? That's a good analogy, right? I've gone and explored uncharted territory, and it's reframed what I do in this little dinky little room, what things I should be working on when I'm in this tiny little room. You know, bigger things like learning how to program with MySQL. And the funny thing is, not like a lot of these ideas and aspirations and strategies and goals I am going to work on now on stream in this room are not ideas and plans that I had laid out beforehand, even when I had a smaller understanding of the world around me. It's just that many of those goals and aspirations and actions that I just did not do it at so I just didn't do it, in fact. It's not even about speed, it's just not doing it versus actually doing it. It's that simple. It's just doing it and not doing it, taking action and not taking action. And it's not quite like I wasn't going to take action, because I mentioned plans and goals and aspirations, but it's all about prioritization of those many tasks, and I would constantly, consistently put off the more rewarding, much more rewarding, far more efficient, far more impactful skills, activities, endeavors, projects, employment opportunities, volunteering opportunities, networking opportunities, professional development, personal development. I pushed off a lot of that stuff, health and wealth, right, and fulfillment, far further. That's a bit redundant than they should have been. And so now that I've seen a lot more of the world and experienced a lot more of the pressures, both the challenges and the triumphs have reoriented me into a more normal healthy, I guess, standardized average person's state of goals, actions, and general way of being, right? I'm doing things more normally, I guess you could say, even though I'm not really normal at all, but because I'm just so dumb, I think. slow. Slow is a word I use when describing. I'm just so slow. People just catch on so quickly, and I'm just so slow to catch on. So, but yeah, that's I've experienced more of the world, and that's allowed me to reframe and resort, organize, and prioritize what I will do first, right? Using my time as opposed to doing later. And I feel like this is, at least in part, thanks to a lot of the people that I've met, for sure. I think there will be videos for that, live stream moments for that. For now, let's try to get the logistics done. And that was quite a long spiel. I didn't think that I had it in me to talk so much. After talking about about resource management and prioritizing things differently, I still managed to spend an hour talking. Go figure. Which is a bad habit of mine before anyways, so bleed slow. Alright, so let's throw this chair, right? I was thinking about, alright, what's the most efficient way to make use of the room? And so, there we go, now we're not being so stuck up in our head. One of the mind-boggling things for me, and just not, I wish I could capture my reaction to that, because that was just so crazy. I was just sitting here rocking back and forth like, oh, I didn't think of this. Why didn't I think of this? So the main thing is to get this chair with all this equipment, the laptop, the book, the stuff cleared, first of all. And then move it away from this place right here, because it's in front of where I would be doing my fitness regimen. Now to the side here is the bed, right? And the bed here, it's just like, why didn't I come up with this sooner? The bed, of course, as I mentioned earlier on live stream, needs to be closer to where the laptop is. And the laptop I put on this chair because I wanted to be closer to the bed. So I had been moving things because there's primarily whatever I need to do is online, right? It's like whether you're applying for jobs, employment opportunities, or working on your nutrition, research, sales, business, or like searching for volunteering opportunities and blah-de-da, and working on live stream projects and multimedia project and assets, learning how to code, fulfilling certifications for optical assisting, whatever it is you're doing. Sometimes just like fooling around, watching videos, learning things. Sometimes it's just reaction videos, really, listening to music, and sometimes it's actually listening to something educational, like from a neuroscientist, or talking about new trends in technology, or practicing interview questions, because there's always something you can do that involves media that need not necessarily be entertainment, right? It could be for educational purposes. But anyways, whatever I'm doing, it's usually on the laptop, and the biggest hurdle to me getting stuff done is always like, having to get up and then walk over there. For some reason, it's only 2 meters away, but having to go over there, and this is a very uncomfortable environment for me, unfortunately. Not a lot of very good relationships within this household, historically speaking, even though right now things have kind of settled down to a degree. But I generally don't have a lot of, I don't like to move from the bed. I just want to be quiet. And that has a lot to do with me too. It's not just relationships, it's also a personal thing, right? So it's a personal issue I have, is that I am quite obsessed with being quiet. I can't be overstimulated with stressors, and I experience the world in a way, since I am now clinically diagnosed, I recognize that little pains are tremendous pains for me. And it doesn't surprise me at all, given that as I was growing up, I went through a lot trying to condition myself to, in my head, in my mind, believing that conditioning myself to take on all the torture methods of history and trying to experience the suffering and sorrow and misery of the countless hundreds of thousands of people throughout history, trying to pretend and play it out in imagination on myself to take on the suffering of the world. Like, let's say some way to train myself to be prepared for what happens back when I leave school and return to the dreaded household, which is like a prison. And that's kind of the household I was in, unfortunately. But anyways, the point is, training myself for that really screwed up my development, and my perception of negative experiences is very, very, very extreme. So apparently things that are sad are extremely, extremely unsettling, unnerving, and sad for me. Things that are somewhat irritating, it'll make people a little bit angry, I find incredibly, incredibly intimidated, agitated, and retaliatory, right? So my experience of negative emotion is sky high, right? Compared to the perception of a regular person. Apparently, this is one of those many symptoms of this particular disorder and of other disorders that apparently I am at high risk of. Again, if you are a parent, please don't abuse your kids, because this is the result. And also don't make your kids end up taking on trying to be a parent themselves, in a sense. You don't want to spoil your kids, but you don't want to abuse them either. Because this is the result, unfortunately, when they become an adult. It's like I've already raised a family. I feel like a grandpa. Really, that's kind of what the situation is. Almost, it's like it's the really, really grumpy grandfather, right? It's like the really, really grumpy grandfather who's been through all that crap and didn't, unfortunately, make it out unscathed. And so that's what the grumpy grandfathers are compared to, say, the more wise old men, right? Or the really bitchy granny, right? Compared to the very, like, I don't know, warm granny, right? Like, you think of the typical archetype or stereotype of an 85-year-old man or 85-year-old woman, and there's always, two polars, right? At least. There's the really heartwarming, oh, here's your grandmother baking you apple pie. And then there's the really, screaming, extremely disruptive kind of grandmother who, you have to walk on eggshells around, right? And same thing with the grandfather, right? So I feel like I was at some point, I was like an 65, 75-year-old man. And after having tried to raise the family and everything like that at an age that was unbecoming. I was only in my like 5, 6, 7, 8 through my teens, as a child through my teens, right? Didn't make a whole lot of sense. And even into young adulthood, I realized that I experienced things in all the wrong ways. I tried to condition myself thinking that my responsibility to carry all this burden, right? My responsibility to carry what burden I had would benefit from me experiencing even a far greater burden. If I can desensitize myself to humanity, the history of humanity's suffering, that I would come out of it stronger more resilient, and more dependable, less phased. But that only works if whatever kills you, there's that mantra, right? Whatever kills you doesn't kill you, makes you stronger. Well, that only works if whatever you're going through doesn't actually kill you, because sometimes it does. Or in this case, it leaves you irreparably damaged, right? You become damaged goods. And so that's kind of what happened, right? And I recognize that, where was I going with this? Let's just get back on track, right? I experience the world's negative events far heavier than they actually are for the average person, for the average, normal, healthy human being, which is a weird statement because who's normal? What's normal? What's the average? But I think you know what I mean in a common sense way, right? Because of this, right? Okay, I remember that point now. Because of this, I don't want to engage with anybody inside this household at all, aside from my brother. Even then, I try not to. I guess you could say I've moved into an avoidant attachment phase. I don't know if that's quite the right word, if any, because I have such a negative view, right? This is something that actually my brother was in before. Before I had a very positive view of people. I tried to make a very positive view of people so that it'd be more bearable. And now the tables have turned, the roles have reversed, and now I'm no longer the mediator, I'm no longer the peacekeeper. I'm now the one who is incredibly cynical and wants to avoid people at all costs. So what's happened now is I generally, if I have the ability to, will make as little noise as I can and leave the household as early as I can, or at least for as long as I can. Okay, that's kind of the game plan, really. And the irony is it's kind of come full circle. I remember when I was growing up a little bit, I always wished and dreamt that I could just be alone and left alone. If people were as horrific as I at the time imagined them to be, which for the most part they are not, unless they fall into a state of stress, panic, anxiety, fear, guilt, insecurity, and so on and so forth, which is normal for everybody. And that's the trouble with me, right? Because again, the trouble with me personally, my problem, my personal issue is that I experience negativity in such a extreme way. I perceive it in such an extreme way, such that when other people get angry or depressed or throw a temper tantrum, I perceive it as if they are borderline narcissistic cluster B psychos, and I can't handle them, even though it's fleeting, right? They don't stay angry or furious for a long time, even though they might not be all that angry at all. But for me, I experience it in a very unsettling, disturbing, twisted way. I have to, in a way that makes me want to just off myself. I'd rather not live if I have to experience all these negative influences from relationships, which unfortunately are a normal part of many relationships. Honestly, neglect, harassment, and abuse are just synonymous and unavoidable as love, happiness, and joy. Relationships will have both. At some point in your lifetime, if you're in a long-term relationship, your partner and you will eventually come to a point, multiple points, where you will take advantage of each other, hurt each other in ways irreparable that is considered to be neglectful, abusive, or harassment. Just as much as if you're in that long-term relationship, there will be many, many times where you experience great moments of fulfillment, of happiness and excitement, right? Romantic and also companionship, romantic intimacy, but also companionship. So these are very rewarding, very fulfilling, very joyous and happy things and experiences to have in life, right? But you got to take the good with the bad. And for someone like me, with I don't want to brand myself with a disorder, because that kind of just, anytime you do something like that, you asphyxiate a label with yourself, with anyone. It's not a good idea, because then you're digging yourself a hole. It almost makes it seem as if you can't change it. So the appropriate method, of course, I don't mean it like I'm stuck in this forever. I'm obviously working in so many ways with so many organizations and self-improvement methods and fitness and health and whatever, and finance and stuff. But the fact is, as the state currently is, I try not to move around in this household very often, inside this room too often recently, because I just want to avoid any particular reaction or response, even if the misunderstandings are gross and yet not my problem. I tend to make it my problem, right? When someone gets angry, even if they misunderstand, people usually just say, oh, they misunderstood, who gives a fuck what they think, right? I can say that. Now I can say that all the same, just like a regular person, who cares? But when they say it, they can actually live it out and not care. When I say it, it doesn't really fly, and I end up becoming very anxious, panicked, fearful, ashamed, miserable, depressed, filled with sorrow, macabre thoughts of retaliation. Those are the thoughts, those are the emotions, those are the behaviors, the physiological reactions that I get when someone gets angry around me. Even if they got angry through a misunderstanding, and I know it's a misunderstanding, and I say it's not my problem if they get angry, or if they do whatever they do, it is a very unsettling thing for me. I can try to convince myself through my thoughts, but my bodily reaction is it's not listening. I can convince my mind, but not my body. Right, so that's something, obviously, like I said, I'm practicing. I've been practicing in many, not hundreds, not even thousands, probably like tens of thousands of trials, with probably hundreds of different strategies, thousands of strategies probably now at this point, to remedy. And obviously I've been making slow progress, sometimes great progress, and then sometimes you stall and you go back. That's how it is when you try to make personal changes, due to incredibly adverse experiences. But and everyone will experience several adverse experiences. Everyone experienced catastrophe and crises at some point in their lives, right? So that's just kind of normal. What might not be so normal is just experience something like that too early and too young. But honestly, that's actually quite normal if you're in a different part of the world. So if you're in a different part of the world, even people when they're only like 2-3 years old, far younger than I was, even, well, not far, just a little bit, but even so, the majority of the population of children usually experience incredible hardships before they're even 5 years old, if you're in a third world developing country. So it's like, just suck it up, right? So at the end of the day, it's like I'm still trying to improve on it, trying to work on this and get somewhere so that my body doesn't respond the way that it does. I don't think respond is the right word. React is the right word. Because respond is more of a thoughtful thing. It's more controlled and measured. It's more steady. It's moderate. It's well moderated. Mine is more reactive, right? So the idea for me is, as I said, to basically not move around too much in the room, you know? So because of that, I end up not getting a lot done. And this was a major caveat to living here for the past like year or so, couple years actually. I would just try not to move around too much, because of any particular misunderstandings, and there would be many. Any accusations or insinuations or anything like that, I would try to just avoid it all by limiting my movement, which is like, does that make any sense, right? It's like I'm just like locking myself into the bed. Does that make any sense? Because then I'm just holding myself back for the sake of other people's reaction. It doesn't. It really doesn't. But that's exactly what I did. That's how how extreme the negative perception of the troughs of a relationship would be for me, even when sometimes they're really comprised out of nothing but misunderstanding. I actually have a really big hit. I take it really badly, misunderstandings, because I take them to be a fundamental attack on truth. And yet misunderstandings are totally unavoidable. You can't do anything to stop a misunderstanding from happening. You can't control all the variables in life. But I would try to do that, because misunderstandings for me are so awful, right? For me, understanding is like it hits like a truck, like a brick wall. I hate misunderstandings and the spiraling transgressions that come afterwards, the escalation of conflict that comes after misunderstanding, and the potential non-resolution, so the potential for that conflict to not be resolved, is so painful for me. It is so mentally and emotionally draining for me. It is exhausting. It is depressing. It pisses me off, honestly. It makes me, I just hate it, right? I really hate that. And the work is to not hate, not have such an adverse, extreme reaction to misunderstandings, to not be so obsessed with truth, because I have an obsession with truth. I have an obsession with total, complete transparency and honesty. That's impossible. I'm not an honest person completely, right? And I can't expect other people to be. But it's also going to backfire, because there's so many situations where honesty and truth and transparency are not beneficial. Let's say you're in a business negotiation. Let's say you're in some sort of argument with your loved one, your loved partner, right? These are situations where there are high stakes, and the conflict is actually a necessary and beneficial thing over the long run to have. But since it is an argument and a negotiation in business and in personal private space, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to give away all your cards, right? And that's the nature of relationships, the nature of conflict in relationships as well. So again, my obsession also comes not just with, so it's unhealthy again, but there's also other obsessions that result in my disdain for simple things like misunderstanding, and result in a very, very negative perceptual experience of otherwise more mundane negative emotions, right? So the negative emotions, the scale, the intensity is so extreme. Like, I make a big, big deal over someone getting angry or frustrated, right? And yet, for many people, getting angry and frustrated to them is just like, who cares if they get angry or frustrated, you know? For me, that's something I have a really hard time managing. And so misunderstanding tied in with truth, an obsession with truth, open, transparent, full-blown honesty, impossible. There's also another one. This one's a really big one. Independence and autonomy, right? A real obsession with wanting to do everything myself, to a degree. Obviously, this one is something that I've worked on quite a bit now that I don't have anywhere near as bad a habit as I did, say, half a year ago, 6 months ago. But again, independence, autonomy, personal responsibility, trying to do everything on my own was a big, big problem for me, because many, many times in life, not just for everyone else, specifically also for me, right, but for everyone else too, like, there are so many situations where you just can't do it alone. And I've tried to do so many things on my own that were such failed attempts because I just wasn't good at it. I was horrible at the thing that I was trying to do. And I didn't seek the help professionally or from even amateurs because I wanted to experience it myself, which is fine if you have all the time in the world, but we don't have all that time in the world to experience things slowly at our own pace, by ourselves, through our own way, making our own mistakes over and over again until we slowly learn basic things that someone else could have told us after their years of experience and professional development, and save us there for hours, months, years. So that's something that was a big thing for me. I was obsessed with doing everything myself, even though if I had just gone out and sought other people's tutoring and mentorship and aid and question answers, I could have just done things so much quicker, better, more efficient. So the obsession with independence, self-reliance, the obsession with truth and honesty, these are things that have to go, right? And obviously tied into these obsessions, the very nature of obsession, it's itself an obsession. It's the obsession of perfectionism, right? A very classic symptom of people who grow up in a household that has no sense of stability, right, is that in order to counteract the lack of stability, they try to create their own stability. Since there's no sense of control or proper stability in the household, they end up becoming control freak. There's also the opposite way, the opposite extreme that some people develop, right, is that they just stop caring. They become carefree, reckless, and don't give a damn about anything at all, because if there's nothing to look forward to, then why care to begin with? So then there's the opposite of perfectionism. There's also just being defeatist, and escaping from the world. So I think I've been on both ends before anyways, but perfectionism was definitely one I tended to go towards far too often. So that's something else. That's another obsession, right, that I've got to rid my hands of, and I've worked really hard in being able to do that to a reasonable degree. Now, at this point, the practical aspects of this, all these, obsessions being remedied by experiencing the world properly like a normal goddamn human being, right? And meeting lots of really, really great people in really luxurious, high-end places, with organizations that are making real big, interesting, really exciting impacts on the world, right? They're really trying to make, I was working on my laptop next to an electric vehicle company. There was like a muscular detox company in the heart of downtown, of the high tech hub of the area that I was at. Even it was like some of it was like cultural hubs. It was really amazing, right? There's so many libraries, so many. The architecture is amazing. The transit system has been more refined and well developed than I had thought. I was pretty out of date. Obviously, I haven't been to the area that I used to live in before, but it's no longer a small town GTA, if you know what I mean. That kind of gives away the location, but it's no longer the little small town wallflower that used to be. This is now a formidable, ambitious, very I don't know if I want to use the word diverse, but it's certainly a very varied. It has a lot of variation in the taste, culture, work ethic, um, communities, the personalities that are within each community. It's such a, you could just walk a couple blocks away and then it's almost like you walked into a totally different world, right? That's the kind of city that I'm living in. And I felt so out of date, honestly, sometimes I was going down there, it's like, and I had to recognize that, people here who are working in these shops, in these organizations, in these hospitals, and financial institutions and banks and whatnot, these are the people who at one point were literally that grade 2 kid picking his nose or working way out his math homework, or making some small elementary school gossip with their little schoolgirls and schoolboys, right, in little town GTA. um, they're all men and women starting families, raising kids, having full-time jobs in high-tech, well-developed, very affluent, and sometimes a lot of jobs are just very core, like just low entry ceiling things like cashiers at the convenience store. But even so, if you take a look at the convenience stores nowadays, it's not like back in the 90s anymore. It's not the mom and pop little convenience store with like gum stuck on the sidewalk and stuff, selling a pack of cigarettes. It's like they have these coffee machines now that can dispense 5 different flavors. It's like even the convenience store is like kind of high tech depending on where you go. And I've experienced that now. I've experienced these like really really surprising areas of the world. And it's not really a surprising area of the world, it's a surprising area of the city. It shows how small minded I really am. That something like this would blow my mind, right? It'd be like, but that's how easily satisfied I was, right? Because I was very minimalist. I purposely made my life minimalist because then, you know, it's easier to reach success when success is at such a low bar of standards, right? When you have not so lofty ambitions, those ambitions are just that much easier to achieve. And I didn't want to set myself up for failure and disappointment. And yet at the same time, I did set myself up for failure and disappointment, right? It's one of those paradoxical truths. To a degree, yes, if you set yourself with reasonable goals, you can actually live a more fulfilling life because you don't end up trying to reach for the impossible and then inevitably failing yourself. But then there's also a degree to which if you don't set high enough standards, and then you end up achieving and attaining what you had sought out so easily or too early, let's say, you just become afterwards, with all the remaining years and decades of time, become either really bored, or you watch the world pass you by. And that's my experience, right? The world is passing me by and they're overtaking, and it's dragging me along with it. I'm not allowed to just enjoy life with the minor successes that I've had. If I don't keep up, right, I can't make a living, right? And that's the same with everybody, really. If you don't stay competitive in the market, on your job, in your business, on your connections, on relationships, you get left behind. Not in the way that you stagnate, like it's not just stagnating, it's about the world literally taking everything away from you, because you won't have the skill set at a level enough to make good enough income to provide basic needs like food, shelter, clothing. That's where I'm kind of at. I didn't manage I didn't learn enough about how to manage very distressing, disruptive, abusive, neglectful relationships. And I was completely blindsided because me and my stupid naivety ended up not developing the strong personal boundaries required to fight back properly and disengage and feud and fight in a conflict. I had my hands and fists untrained. I didn't know how to fight back. I didn't know even how to stand my ground properly, right, against people who were pushing me around. So that was a big problem. And because of that, the history that I had with that kind of experience, I thought I didn't need to develop it anymore, but I was so far behind, in fact, because I had stopped training and learning about how to actually learn how to navigate such negative relationships, thinking that I had already discovered it on my own through the self-torture and all that desensitization that I thought I had under my belt. That just was not enough at all. I absolutely, if I were smarter, if I was not so just dumb and sought out extra help from other people, what I should have done was just go out to the world and look to other people to teach me how to navigate a neglectful, abusive, harassing household relationships, stuff like that, workplace. I should have dived deep into psychological disorders and learning how to train myself to say no, and not say no, but to leave, to cut ties, cut relationships, and learn to negotiate, and so on and so forth. I really should have done that. Because I didn't, and I fell behind in the mismanagement of the negative side of relationships, I ended up falling so far behind, and the world just moved on ahead so quickly. People who had once been behind me in terms of employment and opportunities and relationships are now so far ahead of me, because I allowed myself to stagnate, because I didn't prepare myself well enough in the proper ways. I didn't practice and prepare in the right ways to manage negative relationships. I ended up falling so far behind, and now I find myself in a place where I'm still using old tactics, right? To a degree, to manage a situation that was brought about by my incompetency to manage negative relationships, right? Poor relationships, I didn't manage it really well, led to the situation that I'm in right now. And it leads to also to how I respond to the situation, how I react to the situation. So after half an hour, probably like 45 minutes of talking about this, it like goes straight back to this whole thing here, right? The greatest hurdle I found, like, it's so ironic that such a tiny little thing would hold me back so much. Just not having a laptop next to the bed, right? It sounds like a totally different topic altogether. Why did it go so deep? Is that not having a laptop next to me will literally shave off 2, 3, 4, 5 hours of my work time, because I literally won't get out of the bed just to avoid making footsteps on the ground that the landlord can hear and then misinterpret. That's how bad it was. That's how badly I was responding. I was not supposed to be like that. And I'm still not supposed to be like that, but sometimes I am. Even to this very day, to this very moment, there will be some days where I just don't want to get up off of the bed because I don't want to make footsteps on the ground and then have the landlord blow up in a fit of rage and anger and try to sometimes intentionally like make phone calls to the neighbors and crap like that and talk smack loudly. But it's like none of that even matters for a regular person. If it's a regular person, they don't even care, you know. You talk smack, that's your problem. And half the time it's like, even if they're just loud and they're talking smack, it's not necessarily about me, but just the fact that they're talking loudly, that bothers me. That's crazy. Like, why does it bother me, you know? Again, the whole notion of overstimulus and the relationship with anger and the dysregulation that I have surrounding these sorts of environments and situations is so extreme. And in turn, I extremely limit myself. So I've found that the solution best was to have a laptop next to me. And that's why this chair is here. And because of that, actually it spiraled way out of control, and spending 12 to 18 hours outside the household was kind of like my go-to solution for quite some time, months now. But I still need to be able to work in here now that I have things. And the great thing is I've developed a lot more resilience. I'm a lot more healthy now. And it doesn't really bother me so much. The extreme reactions that I used to have are slowly but surely fading away, which is really, really nice, and I'm really happy about. But the fact is, I still am prone to that and susceptible to that. And the best solution, trying to rearrange the room right now in a way that makes sense. Because it's just like 2-3 years ago, I didn't have to think about this, the relations between the landlord and myself and other tenants, hadn't gone to shit the way that they have now. In the same way that, although I knew that it would because of the history that I have had in my household growing up, so I could see all the signs and red flags and warning signs, right? But I didn't get to decide really, of course, very much where I was going to live, unfortunately. Needless to say, right, the situation is what it is, and even though I have become a lot more resilient now, even though I've come to terms a couple months ago and have recovered really, really quickly for someone with this particular type of long-term disorder, of course, this is all thanks to the fact that, just like many other people in the similar position, they've done the research and hard work throughout their entire lives. It's not like they discovered a disorder now, right? It's not like I didn't know I had issues like just until like a year ago or 10 months ago when I saw the psychiatrist. It's like I knew this since I was a kid, that this environment that I'm growing up in with other people with disorders inside the household was going to make me have disorders. So it's like a past, like a virus, right? It's an environmental virus though, right? It's passed along from the harassment and the abuse, the physical, emotional, mental, and for some, unfortunately, sexual abuse, right? And neglect and harassment, right? But, for me, it was like the first three and not the latter. So obviously, it's, I knew that there would be a very high risk of contracting and developing a disorder myself. I just thought that maybe I could make it so that I wouldn't be another example of that. And unfortunately, I didn't. But unfortunately, I didn't manage to avoid it. But fortunately, I recovered like the self-awareness and all the practice, the years of practice and experience and wisdom and knowledge and understanding and negotiation and back and back and back and back and forth. Just having the self-awareness and then knowing what to do next, and then going ahead and doing all the things that I needed to do next has resulted in me essentially not really responding or reacting as badly in just within a few couple months, as opposed to usually what it takes is like a full decade. And a lot of this is actually technological development, right? Because if you dated back 20 years ago, seeing a therapist for mental health issues is such a taboo thing. It was just such a difficult resource to acquire to see a therapist or whatever back then. Nowadays it's everywhere. And it's a lot thanks to technology, a lot of information and resources and information online through all sorts of different media type formats, such as like live streams, videos, books, guides, you name it, we got it. It's all out there for the taking. You got a problem, you can solve it, just Google it. That's how quick it is. Now you just ask the chat box on Bing. Bing's a new thing now, since they've incorporated ChatGPT. So, but the point is, it's part of this is a big thanks to technological development, and that I have recovered as quickly as I have. I've not recovered fully, right? But the staggering rate of improvement compared to what I thought it would have taken when I was just like 10 years old, but that was in like the early 2000s. That was in almost the late 90s, right? It's a totally different ballgame now. The rate of human development and recovery and healing and self-improvement, professional development is crazy. It's so fast. It's so good. Everything's online. Everything's available. Everything is easily accessible. So, and I've been able to capitalize on that, just like 12 other really, resilient and unfortunate men within a recovery group, a men's support group, which is another, again, the fact that I've been able to get in touch with the men's support group in the first place is a testament to how easy it is in this day and age, because before such a thing did not exist, right? So I guess back to the laptop, right? Back to the laptop. What I'm going to do is we're going to shut the fuck up. We're going to clear out everything here. And we're going to do what we, I wish I captured the reaction to this. It was just so funny because I was sitting on the bed. I was like rocking back. I was like, ah. All I had to do was move this bed. It's like a eureka moment. All I had to do was move this bed from here over to here. That's all I had to do. And we don't need to talk about regions. So, obviously like, calculate, region from region like G1 to G4, it's like all that stuff. That's almost like playing, what's it called? Like the chess speed runs, right? We don't have to do that kind of stuff. Because again, small world, right? This room here, we've mapped out the next scale, the next tier in scale. We've explored the city, not all of it, obviously. You can't really explore the whole city, but I've explored the city as opposed to exploring this district. Right before it's the local district, now it's the entire capital city, the tech hub that it is, the rich and wealthy, also the slums, the ghettos. I've been there too. Well, that's where actually I'm most familiar with, actually, with my life. Um, just stepping outside of this local kind of like rundown, kind of slightly shoddy, small, no-name local district, and into the bigger, high-tech, wealthy, affluent, professional, well-established, highly educated population, these other districts of the city that comprise the entire city as a whole, and then reworking, reframing, revising the goals, skills, network of people, experiences and organizations, and so on and so forth. Lends itself a different perspective on what I should do when I'm even here for the 6 hours inside this little room. So, long story short, it took us 3 hours to talk all this stuff out. But I mean, I guess we haven't done this in almost. I haven't done this. Like we haven't done this. Let's say we haven't done this in almost like a year and a half. When was the last time I seriously talked into the live stream like this? That must have been when I was still employed, when I still had a job, actually. Well, I'm technically still employed, but when I was still working. I technically have a job now, but I'm not actually working on the job. So it's kind of weird like that. But the point is, the last time I had such a long spiel that actually meant anything, where I was saying stuff that actually had any real meaning and direction, was probably like a year ago on live stream. Weird. Hopefully after this we won't be talking too much. Hopefully the next couple live streams will start the reactions, the I don't know, the reactions, because that's kind of one of the things that actually pops off. That's actually a worthwhile venture. When it comes to making live streams, if I want to actually do something that gets something, that actually gets somewhere and can provide an efficient route for growth, React channels are the way. So hopefully we can get to that point. Now, before we do that, what we'll do is we have to find a way to make this all work out, right? So that's why we're talking logistics today. That's why this live stream even happened. It's because I want to prepare for the reactions and capture even the reactions of me making developments in the room. I had all sorts of like little epiphanies along the road. I was like, it's so disgusting over there. And then I tried moving actually a standing desk over there. By the way, I bought a standing desk over there, and I never actually tried lowering it through the tab on the side. There's actually a handle there that I press on, and then the piston releases the air, and then the standing desk goes all the way down. I never actually tried it before, believe it or not. I bought it for like a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years now. And I just assembled it, and I never actually got to try lowering it, because at the time there was like a bunch of stashed books and paper from my side business hanging right next to where the standing desk was. And if I tried to lower it, it just come in contact. So I couldn't lower it. But now it's no longer there. It's just some drinks And if I move the drinks away, I tried to lower it, and I had this like really wild. It's like, oh, it's so cool. It actually goes all the way down. I can actually use it now. That's crazy. But yeah, and it was obviously not that much talking. It was a lot more reaction and a lot less speech. But we didn't capture that either, right? So it's moments like these that are fun, that are actually worth kind of capturing. And this time we're going to try to do it right, obviously, right? Because understanding the world, not understanding, I've always understood the world. The problem was actually making it happen and taking action in a way, living in a way, behaving in a way that would set the right priorities first. It was difficult. Now it's a lot easier for me to say, okay, we're going to do things this way for sure, because it's just more efficient, and we're going to do it this way because it's more efficient, and because it just gets us what we want faster. I know that's weird to say, because this entire live stream has been me doing exactly the opposite, but that's because this stream was meant to be all talk, in a sense. Well, most of it was anyways, so it's not too far off the ball. All right, let's clear up this side now, and I think what we'll do is we're going to experiment. Like I said, we're going to clear up the stuff here. There's not a whole lot of talking, and we'll only talk when we need to. And then we're going to move this bed. I've never actually done this before, but we're going to have to probably move around the ring clamp. I think that's what it's called, the ring light, sorry. And replug it over to the side over there. So there's going to be a lot of adjustments, and some of it will inevitably not be captured on camera because I'll be moving all over the place. It's okay, right? It's not a big deal. But at least it's turned on. At least I can watch this myself later on. At least there's something that's made out of it. At least I might capture a few reactions here and there. And before we go to bed. Okay. One last thing, something really important. I wanted to decide on a name for the affiliate links that I may be sharing. And I have finally done enough research to settle on 2 or 3 names. I really like Eastern culture, Eastern Slavic languages. So that's sort of what I kind of moved towards. And now that's been settled on with something that I have to do because of finding out what name I want to use as an alias for my affiliate page, is that now, after, let's say, I figure out a way to move, I move the bed over, I figure out how to make the whole fitness thing work out, have the stand here, and the laptop be beside the bed so that, I can just sort of immediately wake up and start working away at stuff without having to get off the bed, because apparently that's such a big major hindrance to my productivity due to my whatever, like, maladaptive coping mechanisms, like all my stupid behaviors that I keep clinging to, right? Trying to limit myself, trying to not make noises, trying to be quiet and everything like that, right? So if that's the case, then just make sure that the laptop is right next to me on the bed, but it has to be in a way that still allows me to work out, because I need to take care of my body a lot better, which is why we're moving this chair away. And then we're also considering to moving the bed over here to the side next to the table, because that is where essentially all of the production equipment is. If you can see, there's like a webcam, there's like a mic with a lot of boom stand, adjustable boom arm, sorry. All the tech equipment is over there, and I need to bring that tech equipment closer to the bed, or in this case I realized I just need to bring the bed, which is really, really light, just move it over close to the table. Now, one thing that I had to think about though is, first of all, I don't know if I want to use this chair. It makes a lot of noise, it's very creaky, and I'm trying to not, one of the main deterrents for me when it comes to setting a proper healthy habit and getting up and immediately getting to work is making noise. This chair is really noisy, so I intend on not using this and using this instead. But the thing is, that thing here is an adjustable, what do you call it, like a fitness back bench, an adjustable back bench. And what that back bench is for, obviously for fitness. If I move the bed next to here, it just kind of corners the fitness bench between the office desk and the bed, and then I'm not going to be able to work out, right? So it's kind of weird. I have to figure this out. I don't know how what the final configuration is going to look like. As usual, whenever we start moving things around in this room, it's going to take multiple iterations over the course of not days, but probably weeks, as we sift through different ideas, right? That's just true for anything. Every time you move something around, or you're playing with a new plan, you're creating a new plan, or juggling a new responsibility, you have different tactics and strategies that you come up with along the way. And the final draft is often the result of many smaller and sometimes major rough drafts in between. So I don't know how the final room is going to look like. I just know that we're going to make some big changes to the way we have our room set up so far. And then hopefully by then we can try to, one of the big things, so let's list some major things. So first of all, yeah, get the laptop close to the bed in a way that allows for fitness. Figure out the whole thing between this chair, this back bench, and whether we're going to use a chair. We want to test this live stream. If I can use, right now I'm recording this live stream with the phone. We want to test using that HyperX Quadcast microphone by connecting it over to the phone and seeing if the phone app right now, which is like Prism Live Studio, will allow me to use the mic, the external mic, as opposed to the phone to record audio, because that would be brilliant, especially for reactions, right? If I could just do that instead. The reason why I'm doing that is because I use the phone to do the live streams and not my laptop. The laptop, if I do that, has to use OBS or something of the sort. Streamlabs is out of the option. Prism Live Studio also an option, because they just take so much memory, and they really are taxing for a laptop. I don't have a full PC setup. It's just a laptop. So it's very taxing, and I usually have many things I want to do on the laptop aside from running a live stream. So it just hogs up too much computer storage space and memory. Therefore, I use the phone to do live streams. But obviously, if I use the phone to do live stream, the audio is really shitty, because the phone's mic is pretty shitty. If at all possible, I like to use that really great mic over there to capture my audio by connecting that microphone over to the phone. I don't think it's going to work, but we have to at least try. So that's a big thing we want to get done. Again, shifting around the bed, the laptop, and the chair. And then, of course, also getting those affiliate links ready after we have changed, finally, created, in fact, not changed, but added a new sort of display name over to a webpage for our business. It's in the research for biocellular nutrition. So those are some big things we want to get done. Okay, let's just kind of get to it. All right, at this point, there's not going to be too much talk. I might want to go to the washroom and just touch upon some stuff, and then we'll get to work. Okay, because I think just if I just stop talking right now, it's kind of abrupt. And then if I just stay in the room and stop talking, it's kind of abrupt. I think it's better to have like some sort of intermission. I leave the room and it feels more natural. And I'll come back in. Okay. Capiche? So with that being said, let's check the time. And I'm going to prepare to stop talking. This feels kind of weird. It's 3:30. Okay. So I have roughly about 2 hours to figure things out. Hopefully it won't take too much time. Let's go. Oh, one more thing. Aside, we also, when we were at the desk, we reoriented a lot of stuff, but we also dusted everything and recharged a 46% Amazon Paperwhite to a full 100%. So that's really good because I don't want these devices to go so low on battery that starts to damage the ability of the battery to replenish itself, right? These are rechargeable batteries. If they become completely depleted and you leave it like that, it actually damages the lifespan of the battery. So anyways, good stuff. So let's actually go somewhere. I'm gonna move some of the wires down, and then we can finally. Anyways, another thing. Tone of speech, voice. So let's start trying to speak in normal voice. We don't have to speak in like full sentences and whatnot. It's kind of weird the way I'm speaking right now. I'm gonna take the wires, try and move it down to the bottom if I can, because I want to dust off the. There's like a drawing tablet. It's not a Wacom. It's a Huion, I believe. It's one of those like Chinese drawing tablets, and I covered it with my laptop's, my brand new laptop's fabric cloth that usually covers the keyboard. So I'm gonna use that. I use that to cover the drawing tablet, but since I may be using it now, I'm gonna go ahead and just take that off and dust it off outside. Just gonna get filled with dust bunnies. Then we'll sort off this. We'll go to the washroom after this, of course. Okay, let's go. It's like all sorts of dust here. See how long this live stream's been running? 2 hours. So we've been talking for roughly 2 hours. took a shit. Took a pretty big shit. Well, not a big shit, but it's like a lot of fibery shit. And I don't know, more is better since I ate too much. We managed to dust off a bit, but unfortunately a lot of the dust is sticking to this because it's like fabric. It's okay. So we dusted out the fabric as much as we could from the mouse pad and the keyboard cover. Just saying how I love there's a dust mark imprint of the outline of the mouse pad. Its perimeter. So before we leave to go to brush our teeth, which we do have to brush our teeth, what I want to do is at least get the chair done. Get the chair done. So let's clean up everything here. There's a lot of dust. So we dusted this already, the laptop stand, to a reasonable degree. But now comes all these books and stuff. There's none of the keyboard cover. This one's been washed, so it's pretty clean, but just dusty. It's a health pack. We can actually use this to some degree to store more bottles. I think we'll leave those as is. We'll use this for the copium bottles, so as well as it's very fitting because this starts something new. Box is purple on the outside, so it matches well with the Cocunon 100 and the Usana copium, which is a rose and red colors to match. So I think we have 3 and 3, so 6 bottles in total. 3 small bottles of copium and 3 kind of large bottles, large bottles of Cocunon 100. Alright, let's just kind of dust off a little bit, and shouldn't be a big problem. Now we've got these books here that are really dusty. We've got to really dust it off. A GoPro. There's even like a little network here. I'm going to do this outside the room. So I watched. Yeah, it's looking a lot cleaner now. There's still a lot of dust. Surprisingly, let's take another book. Oh, it's just a design. That isn't though. Anyways. Okay, so let's just put these books away. No, we actually want to read these books. The irony is. Yeah, we actually want to read these books, so. Like, these are books we want to actively read, so. But reading requires action too. And once again, these are books that we can sort of take action on. So that's why they're here. I'll have to consider what I want to do with them. Or not what I want to do with it, but where I'll place them. Just so you can see a little bit further down below. Right. It's really dusty. We got this headset here. The whole point of having this tissue paper here actually is to capture all the oil on the headset. So not sure how effective it really is, but whatever. You know what, let's just wrap around headset. Two rounds, once, twice, that should be enough. Let's take this up. Now this might come important because if we're going to be doing the streams, the way we're going to do it, the way we're going to record the videos during the live stream, and we're going to do it separately. So we're not going to be downloading the live stream, say from YouTube, and then editing it, cutting it up and editing the different components. What we're going to do most likely is we're going to run the live stream on the phone. We're not downloading it from Twitch or YouTube or whatever. We're just going to go and record a separate session using a video recorder on the laptop. And that's because usually the reactions should take no more than, I believe, about maybe roughly 15 minutes or so. That's because that's a good amount of time for a video, I believe. About 15 minutes. It shouldn't be too long, I don't think. And if it's for a reaction video, then maybe it should cover the entire episode, or at least half the episode. But certainly not too much longer than that. So that's what I think. We'll experiment. Now, because of that, the relevance is, while I'm recording that headset, I shouldn't have too much reverb from the live stream, and also from the laptop. I want to be able to therefore hear the music, the sounds from the laptop without having it blasting into the live stream through the phone and then being looped in and repeated in the video or on stream. So this may be important. I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but there's a reason to use the headset, is basically what I'm saying. when we're recording. Okay, let's put this out to the side. There's a phone case for, this case is actually for the phone doing the live stream right now. We don't use it often because of that. And then finally there's the charger of the laptop. Okay, with the extension cord hanging by the side. It's time for me to now dust off everything, so I'll be back as I move the chair outside to dust it out. Clothing. So the chair's over there now. So now we gotta get the plan. Okay, so here's the plan. Laptop's here. And we sit down. Okay. So let's raise this again. Fix it up. So let's say the laptop's over here. We need this to do business. Oh, that doesn't work out really well. It's too close. So I need more space. Probably it's the back bench. Now when the back bench is like this, best way to watch is what? It's really like locked down. It's really comfy. This is really comfy. If only had armrests. Might done it. Super comfy. Now the boom mic is all the way up there. It's clearly too high. I can circle it around and can extend. How far can it extend? Wow, it can extend all the way this way. I was wrong. This might actually be feasible. Yeah, but the weighting is probably really bad. Oh my god, dude. This thing might actually work. extend this far off. It's a lot of strain on the mic. Wow, dude. It's crazy. Yo, no way. It can do all the way this. What is this? It's crazy. It can do this. It's crazy. Are you seeing this? Yo, it's nuts. It's awesome. Wow. It's literally right in front of my face. It's so good. I didn't think it'd be as good. There's like no, that's just a positioning though. Obviously there's a lot more that goes to, you have to make sure that it even works in the first place. Like we don't even know if it works. So we gotta be a little wary of the fact that yeah, why is it leaking? Oh, it's leaking. I just noticed something. The window is leaking in. Because there's like mold growing. Weird. Maybe it's the point of this with water. I was surprised. That's a minor thing though. As far as I'm concerned, not directly the problem, especially if I'm not going to be here for that long. So, let's take this. And dust off the bag, it's really dusty. Pretty bad. Still got a lot of dust on it, but I didn't do a really good job dusting it off, honestly. I just hit it a few times outside. It's okay. At least it's a lot better than before. That's all that matters. Whoa. Somehow the dust got through to the mic. Damn. Anyways, just leave it like that. Okay, we still gotta figure out what to do with the laptop. It's troubling. So I've got the books. Okay, there's an idea. Never thought that thing over there would come in handy, but it does. There's a little casket over there. It's got like a duster in it and stuff, but probably put it in here for now. Okay, so it's like a food bin. Cover that up. Waveware. Seal it nice and tight. Start to get dusty now. It's no big. So we'll just take this GoPro stuff, put it sideways, right? And also the textbooks. I'll put it this way because textbooks won't fit otherwise. Syracuse and the OAT and then St. John's and everything. Just snap it up like that. Okay. This looks like this. Okay, so we're going to take photographs now with my phone first. I think I'll put the duster away for now since I'm not using it at all. Surprisingly. Surprise. I'll take a picture of several things. Probably first and most importantly, I gotta take a picture of this. Actually works out really well. Surprisingly well. The water leaking from the windowsill, probably worth taking a picture of as well. And the stains it's making on the floor, causing hardwood to crack and mold. Holy shit, that's a lot of water. A lot of water. I have to actually clean it up. It's not so much water. Clean it up. It's maybe moldy water too. It's not good. Moldy water. Okay, we're just thinking about the configuration. I like that setup. It's a really good setup. Just gotta think where to place the books. Just realized I have a food tray. I can put that away. This just belongs inside here. Pretty simple. Save me a little space. Anyways, it's still confusing me a bit. I'm like, what should I do? So straight. Another thing is like if we're doing reactions, the light has to be shining from this way. It has to be lashing from this way too. Which is fine, of course. It just means I have to move everything over there again, which is kind of annoying. If I do that, I don't know what would fit this chair. Because there's not a whole lot of space if I do something like that. Thinking what I'm thinking. We gotta move the light over there. That's what we gotta do. Jeez. No, I'll do that. No problem. Yeah, shit. grown so accustomed to using the ring light as like my default light that it feels weird having to access my default light from so far away. But I guess so. Yeah. Plug for now. Really uncomfortable. Really weird. much dust here.